I have a FIFA volunteer with me, but we are not going to talk about FIFA volunteer. I want to know about her personally. Know how long she's been here. How long have you been here? Your name first?
So welcome everyone. My name is Ima Avasi. I'm commonly known as Queen.
Queen.
Yes, that's what everyone calls me around, Queen. I'm from Nigeria,
Mm-hmm.
Queen of Africa, clearly. So I've been in Qatar for 12 plus years now. So that's more than half of my life.
Okay.
I more or less grew up in Doha, went to primary school here, went to secondary school here.
Okay.
That's a bit about me.
How is Qatar school system like? Because I have no idea.
Right. Okay. So Qatar school system. I'll tell you a bit about primary. I'll tell you a bit about secondary.
Okay.
So the primary life is compared to Africa is a lot chiller.
Okay.
So I think one of the key main or differences is the fact that here you barely have books as compared to Africa.
You barely have books.
Yeah. So what I mean by that is that you get everything you want online. African books are like thick and you legit have to read them.
Okay.
But here in Qatar, you literally
Tell me
have
funny for
links.
yourself.
You have links that take you to whichever school curriculum we're using. So you don't have a hard time reading in Qatar as compared to Africa that you have to read to put the things in here. So
Really?
here they give you so while you're in the classroom you have on the board whatever you're learning.
Yeah.
You don't even copy notes barely. You have like handouts and you just stick them to your pages. We do activities mainly, not notes, not books. So that's primary. Secondary is a whole lot advanced. We do have books because, secondary is where you're kind of ending that middle school system.
Yeah.
So you kind of need to read. However, things are still, in my opinion, being spoon-fed.
Okay.
What I mean is, so in Africa, when you're writing an exam, you do know that you need to spend nights reading.
Yeah. You need to bend the candle.
You do. And my mom used to tell me she would put her legs in buckets to read.
Yes.
In
So that you
Qatar
don't fall
here,
asleep.
it's not the same thing. So I did read because I have an African mentality, but I mainly did research and I kind of knew what would come in my exams ahead of time because they literally tell you specific areas to focus on. In Africa we don't do that.
Did you top the class?
Oh yeah, so basically because of my background, I had no choice than to be an A-star student my entire school life. Because it was a lot different, African, I've been trained to read and know.
Yeah.
So being spoon-fed, I literally don't have an excuse not to pass. So the educational system is different. That being said, let me give the Africans a little bit of accolade because as an African student, once you come to Doha, there's no way you're going to be at the bottom of your class. Absolutely no way. So people would basically think you're an Einstein because you are actually very smart.
So African education system is very rough. It's very tough.
It's very rough.
But here things are made easier for you. So you have no reason to fail. If you're not going to be the first in the class, you should be in the top 5. I don't know. How is your class system? Is it bulky? Are you guys many in the class?
So one of the first differences that I noticed coming from Africa to Doha is that in my old class, in Africa, we had like 30 to 40, 50, in the classroom.
Yeah.
Here we have 18, max 20 in a classroom. And that's so a teacher can actually handle because here we believe in the system of every teacher having that individual time with the students at the given time.
Okay.
So we do have less. So in Africa, you'd maybe have a class for 1 hour here, 30 minutes max. But in that 30 minutes, your teacher is able to handle every single student.
Okay.
And we have this habit or the system here of splitting things into group, and there's always sort of a leader in a group that maybe understands things better.
Okay.
So generally, I would say that the educational system here allows you to, although it spoon feeds you in a way, it allows you to be independent and do a lot of research. So that's the key differences. In Africa, we read. Here, we research stuff a lot different but easier.
Okay, so fast forward, which level of education are you now?
So currently, I'm done with my high school. I finished high school about 3 years ago, and you would say, so you're in university. No, I'm not. I work currently, and that's how you found me here. So I've been working as a teacher in the past 2 years.
After secondary school, you are teaching?
Yeah, and so it's not something that happens to everyone. I got it mainly because my mom worked in the school that I work in, and so they felt like I could be of a help. So it started off as a volunteering thing, but then
Okay.
I actually got the opportunity to fully become an employee.
Oh,
But yeah,
okay.
I am planning on going to school.
You want to go back to school?
I'm definitely
You
going
want
to
to
go to
double
school.
up the salary, because I know you are taking block already, but you want to double it up. Yeah, it's cool. Education
Yeah.
never ends, So
And if you ask what I want to study, architecture, just,
architecture.
for those of you
Why
out there.
architecture?
Why architecture? Well, that's an interesting question because since I was in fourth grade, I knew that I had this potential for art.
Okay.
And so I used to draw a lot. As a matter of fact, I still have my art photos. Like the first artwork I ever did, I piled it up. And growing up, I did take a lot of art classes.
Okay.
And then eventually I shifted to the design world. So from a very young age, I did know that I could play with lines. And at some point, I realized that I had this addiction to buildings and structures. So then I knew clearly where I had to shift to. So from a tender age,
Your accent, you don't sound like a Nigerian, you don't sound like a Qatari, you don't sound like African. Where did you get your accent from?
okay, so that's a question people ask me a lot.
Yeah.
I went to a purely British school,
Okay.
and so for the past 12 years, I said should I say cultivated or developed the accent? Because when they say when you're in Rome, behave like the Romans. As an African student coming here, and my British teachers were always speaking with the accent.
Yeah.
Originally, I was like,
You'll pick it.
so what now? But not in this accent.
Okay, so let's not talk about education, about personal life, social life. Are you here with your parents?
Yeah, so I'm here with my mom and dad and 3 siblings.
Okay.
By the way, I'm the second of 4. So first girl, second child.
Okay.
So my dad came here based on work. Everyone was pulled out of Africa at the time.
Yeah.
So we were young and we all came along, and yeah, we started off life in Doha.
Okay. So it's been good. You are here with your parents and all that. They are still around?
Yeah, my mom is still around, my dad is still around.
Oh, okay. That's good for
Mom
you.
is a teacher, dad is a safety engineer.
Safety engineer? Big man. It's like boss. Takes block.
Not really.
No, he takes block. Safety engineer, he takes block. Is Qatar boring, like, compared to Africa? You've not really been to Africa, like you've not really lived in Africa. You don't know the condition and stuff, whatever. I know you still can compare and contrast or whatever.
Yeah, I can.
How do you, like, when you put Africa and Qatar together, what do you have to say?
So in perspective, I would still genuinely tell you that Africa is where the vibe is. And I say that because in Africa that I know, you literally you have the freedom to more or less do what you want. That's not to say that Qatar is boring or that Qatar doesn't have the vibe. Of course it does, but only when there's a community, only when there's a community of people.
Okay.
If it's just in the general neighborhood, it is not interesting at all.
Okay.
They do have places to go, they do have fun things to do, but again, it's not the same as Africa. The things are generally more broad, and I think because of who we are in Africa, we're very economical. Like we know that we can go anywhere and do what we want, but here you more or less have to pay for a bunch of things. So if you ask me, it's not as interesting as Africa. And plus, for the 12 years that I've been here, I did not go out at all. I did have friends, but I never really went out. I think it was because I'm a very introverted person. But thanks to volunteering, I'm out of the shell now. So Qatar is not exactly boring, but it's boring. Can't compare it to Africa. I'm sorry.
You just don't want to say it's boring. To me, compared to Africa, it's boring. Yeah, about the weather and everything. What would you say about that?
It's really hot, although I'm used to the heat now, and people think I'm weird because I actually like the heat. I just don't like the heat for my eye, but for my skin, I enjoy Qatar. But compared to Africa, I would actually advise you to stay home.
Okay, so about social life, how do you guys? I don't know. I've not talked about this with anybody before. If you are living in Qatar, meaning you're going to live here, so you reach the stage of getting married, and how do you meet people? I don't know, because here they have their system of getting married. You don't go to Africa, or you are not in Africa where we can meet you on the street and be like, yo, I love you, I fool you, I want us to do this. Here, how is it done?
So because of how the culture here is, you cannot just meet a total stranger on the road and start up a conversation and get to the extent, like he said, of maybe liking them and stuff.
Yeah.
So I think a lot of people who are in a relationship here, it's mainly online, long distance relationship.
Online.
Because I've had a bunch of people who actually got married, and you'd wonder, well, you didn't do that here yet. So they have their, fiance, their girlfriend, or whatever back home, and they do communicate online. And then, if you want to get married, you go back home, get married, and come here, or bring the person here, get married here, and leave. So I cannot just tell him now that, oh, I like him, we're in Qatar. No, that's not acceptable. We have to somehow do it in a coded way. That's basically because of the culture.
Okay.
For the Qataris, it's very different because even them, like, they can't like themselves on the road.
How do they do it? I don't know. How do they get married?
So it's more like a family social affair. Even their weddings are done like in the house. Like, who does a wedding in your house? Like, they like each other, but they don't tell people. Like, you wouldn't walk on the road and find two Qataris and be like, oh, those people are in love.
Okay.
In Africa, you probably know that these two people are in love,
Yeah.
but in Qatar, it's not the same. You can't hold hands in the mall, like even your wife.
Even the Qataris cannot do
You
this.
can't hold hands. So you do work as a family, but like people wouldn't really know you're in love. There's a common saying, Qataris don't fall in love, they just marry.
So I was thinking, it's just we the experts. They say we cannot hold hands in public. For they themselves, they don't hold hands and show affection in public.
I think that's the word. We don't have public display of affection in Doha.
Okay.
They don't do it.
Okay.
I mean, people do break the rules here and there, but it's just not allowed.
Okay. That's it. So the World Cup coming, you are part of the volunteer. How is your November, December going to be like?
Well,
You are going to break school before the World Cup, right?
let me talk about that on my personal perspective. So, like I said earlier on, I am planning to go back to school. So, as much as I'm a volunteer, I am not very sure I will be fully part of the World Cup. I might be in school by the time, but if I'm not in school at that time, I will
One
be.
thing I know is they said they are going to break school, I think almost a month before the World Cup. They are
Yeah,
going to break a compulsory vacation.
Yeah, but I'm going to university abroad.
Oh, okay, not here.
Yeah,
I thought
so-
you were going to school here in Qatar.
I'm done with Qatar. 12 years is enough. 12 years of heat is enough.
So which country do you plan on going? Which
Oh, I'm going to Poland.
Poland. Okay, that's cool.
Yeah.
All right.
But if I don't go, if I change my mind and not want to go and really want to stay for the World Cup, I will continuously do volunteering. I will literally volunteer
You love
the
it.
entire November, December, every single day.
Any advice for people in Africa? Like maybe you have something of it. I would like for you to advise them, those who want to come here or come to the Gulf countries to work or do anything. That's my question I would like to ask you. But then apart from that, you personally, after answering my question, if you have any personal advice you would like to give them, those who want to come.
Right. So I'll talk about that on two perspectives because I didn't come on my own. I came with my parents. So my story is a little different. I grew up here, so I can't really tell you the working
Condition.
yeah, here. But I've been working here for 2 years now, and I know that working here, if you want to come by yourself, it's a lot easier as compared to getting an agency to bring you here. The procedure is a lot different. The only thing is you need the money as a freelancer to get yourself here. But if you can do it, it's worthwhile because I know that that's the only way that you can sponsor for yourself. I say that because the salary here in Doha is not very helpful for the African person. So me, like when I work here, I know that I will get my salary for sure, but you literally cannot cater for house bills and utility
You are
and the
not renting,
food
you are
and
living
stuff.
with your parents and everything.
But
So it's helping.
talking about that as you, if you would get my same salary, you cannot cater for your
Sure,
house
sure.
and you cannot eat and survive here
Yeah.
for a month.
Yeah. So
And by the way,
after-
there are consequences for that living in
after
Qatar.
your education in Poland, hopefully and God willing, you are not coming to settle in Qatar.
If my parents are still in the country, I would definitely visit, but I would not settle back here.
Okay. All right. Thank you so much for having time for us.
You're welcome.
Are you on social media? Because I don't know if you would like to put your social media handles or social media handles out there for people to.
I am on Instagram as that Aquibum girl. That dot Aquibum _ girl. Maybe you can link it.
I'll put it.
On Twitter as Queenie_love,
Okay.
and that's about it.
Okay. Thank you so much. And I'll see you again.
Thank you for having me.
All right. Thank you, guys.